Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories, shall we? The first story is called Just Following What You Told Me to Do. I'm the general manager for a restaurant and I was expiring for a call out on a busy Sunday. The way our system works is that our electronic board turns green when the food is ready and in the window. I take it from the window and throw it on the tray with the printed ticket and it flies. I saw one of the line chefs plate some food and throw it in the window. I was unaware that he wasn't completely done with it and grabbed it and put it on the tray. He immediately snapped at me and said if he didn't bump it, turn it green on the computer screen, it wasn't ready. I immediately apologized and put it back in the window for him to finish. Now I understand I outrank him and could have caused a scene. But I appreciate the work the line does and realized at the moment that I needed to choose my battles, and this wasn't a battle I was interested in fighting. He understood his comments were in the heat of the moment and apologized that he shouldn't have snapped the way he did a few moments after the incident. It was all good with me, I wasn't holding a grudge one bit. Not even 5 minutes later, some food got plated and thrown in the window. It was ready to get thrown on a tray and sent out to the customer. However, it wasn't bumped, so it wasn't green, so I didn't throw it on the tray. Instead, I stood back and waited, and waited. 3 to 5 minutes went by, and then it hit him like a ton of bricks. A million apologies spewed out of the line cook's mouth as he reached for the bump button on his side. As soon as it turned green, I pulled it out of the window and threw it on the tray with the ticket. It was ready to fly. I didn't say a thing. I continued my day like nothing happened, but we both knew I won with a simple act of malicious compliance. The next story is called You Want to Know If I Reported You? I worked for the small company for 6 weeks at the end of 2020. It was landscape architecture. The boss sacked me for being too slow when I was off sick, out of the blue. I have undiagnosed, highly suspected ADHD, so I was massively surprised. It affects my job performance. But I was surprised that he sacked me via email. I asked for more clarity and I made it clear I was taken aback. I was never rude to him. I just told him I wish he'd caught me. He got really mad and proceeded to write a long list of my over-exaggerated and some false shortcomings. Things like too slow or distracted, stuff he never mentioned at the time. He then said, if you want to take legal actions against me, let me know. I didn't. I worked my hardest for him, but he didn't want a graduate employee. He even told me he was looking for someone senior once I was there. Instead, he made the sacking very personal, just because I asked for clarity. Weird, right? Fast forward to today. He just called my mobile from a private number asking how I was. I was taken aback as we have had no communication since my sacking. He said, someone has put in a report I'm using unlicensed software. Was it you? Because I know we left on bad terms. I said, I have no idea what you are talking about. He made it seem I was devastated he sacked me and would have good reason to report him. No matter what I said, he was convinced it was me. He even accused my dad, who works in IT. I didn't even know he was using unlicensed software. I said, I feel like you are unfairly accusing me here. He raised his voice and shouted, why do you always play the victim? Stop playing the victim. Probably in reference to the fact that I questioned the way he sacked me. It sounded so rehearsed I honestly had to hold back laughter. Then he said, I'm not accusing you, but did you do it? Looking back, I believe it was unlicensed. We only ever used the student version of Autodesk, which is illegal when you are running a business. This, combined with his accusations, tells me he is in fact breaking the law. I was so mad because of his accusations that I reported him to both Autodesk and the BSA. He'll have to run an audit and likely face a huge fine. He thinks I did it either way, so what harm can one more report do? The third story is called Have Fun with Your Random Search. Many years ago, I worked for an outdoor activity center in the retail department. Throughout the park, there were many different shops that we manned, and I absolutely loved working there, despite it being hard work for little pay. One day, I had a run-in with a manager who seriously berated me in front of the entire team along with others from different departments. I was advised by a manager from a different team to make a formal complaint, which I did. Others came out with similar complaints and said manager was advised to find employment elsewhere, but not sacked. Now, unbeknownst to me, I triggered the chain of events that would lead to me leaving the company. Now, before the main story, there's some background info that is relevant to my malicious compliance. There were a few rules in place that were designed to prevent theft, including no more than 10 pounds to be allowed on the shop floor, which was to be checked before your shift. Anything over this must be declared to management and left in your locker, and all staff had to agree to random locker and pocket searches. In the 2 years that I had worked here, I had never been picked for a random search. There were around several hundred employees, so the odds were incredibly slim. But as soon as our disgraced manager left, I suddenly found myself picked at random for a search. This involved turning out my pockets, removing my shoes and socks, and then being escorted to the locker room to empty the contents out. Nothing was found, so I was sent back to the shop floor. The following week I was again picked at random for a search, which again turned up nothing. Rumors were soon doing the rounds that I had upset my department's remaining management team after instigating the action against my former manager, and that they were going to force me out using any means necessary. I realized that I needed to act, so started job hunting and then began my malicious compliance. I started taking a backpack to work filled with 20 pounds in pennies. Every morning I declared the amount in my locker as required, and sure enough, after a couple of days I was once again selected for my weekly random search. I got paid to watch a security guard and supervisor count 2,000 pennies. As expected, I passed that search and off I went. This happened a second time with now 30 pounds in pennies, and I decided to up my game. At the start of the following week, I patiently awaited my random search weekly, knowing what awaited them. The day soon arrived, and off I was marched to the lockers ready for the treat. I lift out my backpack and pass it to the security guard and supervisor, who dived straight in without any gloves. Oh, how they retched as they discovered what was in there. I had several pairs of my dirty pants waiting in there, especially for them. They were gingerly laid on the floor besides my bag, as they counted my bag of pennies. The smell from the pants was unreal. They'd been festering in there for days in anticipation. Once again, the search revealed nothing, and off to work I went. After that, I was not picked for another search again. I left after a couple more weeks to a new job. Through keeping in touch with some people, I discovered that a new rule was introduced that tried dictating what you could and couldn't take to work with you. This soon led to a mass walkout of staff, and after a year the place shut down due to unrelated matters. The last story is called I Figured It Out. So this all happened in the last few weeks. For reference, I'm a battalion level officer in the Army Reserve. While I was getting my masters, I took an overnight gig doing unimportant things. Mostly my co-workers are 19 to 22 year olds in college or just out of high school. The pay was good and I could focus on my studies all night. I graduated with my masters in 2018, but the job market for my field in my area was hard for a while. I had a good relationship with the owner of my company and the pay was really good, plus the army has me working in my field, so I just decided to stay. Fast forward to 6 months ago, I've been here for 4 years now. Every manager or supervisor has nothing but praise for me, and I've made zero mistakes that cost the company any money or time. Then we get a new boss, a good guy, flexible, works with people to get them the schedules they want. But over time, personal issues or something got in his head. I suspect he doesn't like struggling to schedule around my military duties, but who knows. He starts name calling, being condescending or ranting and raving at me for unclear reasons every time he sees me. He wants things cleaned up, but is never able to quite articulate what that means, and my attempts never satisfy him. One time he ranted at me for sweeping wrong, another time for calling him when nobody showed up to relieve me for an hour past my shift. The guys on the schedule said they were told they didn't need to come in. When he does manage to give a specific instruction, he'll show up the next day and rant and rave and yell that I didn't do it before he told me. Well, now my comfortable, well-paying job is no longer peaceful and I have better things to do than listen to a man-child be angry at the world every day. So I hop on Indeed and apply for a couple of jobs in my field. By now I have the masters and 6 years of experience doing it in the army, so I land some interviews and within a few weeks get an offer for double my salary. Soon after, as I'm still working on the onboarding process for the new company, he becomes enraged that a garbage can is dirty. I kid you not, a garbage can. I listen to him rant and name call and all that fun stuff, and the next day I roll my eyes and wash the garbage can. He responds by yelling at me some more because I didn't wash it before being told to, called me some names, then threatened to fire me. So I shrugged and wrote up my 2 weeks notice and handed it to him the next day. Turned out that threat was a bluff. He is now very short-staffed and he blew up again. The next day though, I noticed something peculiar on our work app. My time off request filed months ago for upcoming military orders had been denied. I laughed it off, because obviously that's a misclick on his part, but nope. I come in for work again, and he very smugly informs me that I will be working through the whole next week. I have military obligations. I don't care, I denied your time off request. I have orders from the military, I can't be here. Nope, I denied it. You can't do that. Yes, I can. This is what you get for not respecting me and acting like a child. I'm denying your time off request, so figure it out. Can I have in writing that you are denying me unpaid time off for military duty? Ladies and gentlemen, if asked for something in writing, a smart man would stop and reconsider. A smart man actually would have realized well before talking to me that trying to tell an army battalion that they can't have one of their captains because a 35-year-old civilian middle manager is being petty is a really dumb idea and is in fact illegal. But my boss is not a smart man. Maybe he once was, but he is now an angry, vengeful, petty man that at this point believes he has won a mighty victory over his enemy. So he puts it in writing and then walks off with a confident swagger, shouting over his shoulder, "Figure it out." If you insist. So after my shift, I wait for our main office to open and I call the company's owner for the first time since this new boss started. Friendly chat, and then I tell him I'm calling just to warn him that his manager is trying to pick a fight with the DoD. And that I wanted to call and let him know and get it resolved unofficially. The owner thanked me for calling him, assured me that I would of course have those days off, and asked me what my perceptions were of the new boss. I gave him my opinion that he was once great, but has turned into the most toxic person I've ever worked for. We wished each other well and then hung up. I don't know what happened next, but I suspect the owner politely and calmly informed him that small businesses don't like their managers picking fights with the federal government. When my new schedule came out, I had my drill days off and my boss avoided me after that. I'm taking a vacation after drill and then starting my new job as an expert in my field on Memorial Day, working autonomously with clients, and he will remain there, angry, frustrated and stressed. I figured it out, boss man. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button. It really helps in the algorithm. Have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.